crying uncontrollably. And I was wondering why. And I told him, I said, why are you crying? He said, she was kidnapped along with her parents. And the kidnappers have let her go. So she's going to Lagos to beg her uncle to give them money to pay. But the mother is crying, they're beating the mother. That is Nigeria of today. These are things, I'm just giving you an example that limited why I've decided to be part of the state. We want to start turning Nigeria around. We want to start building a nation that start pulling people out of poverty. Start bringing our children back to school. Start the healing, like he said. Start creation rather than consumption. That is what we want to do.
All right. Interesting. On the stage with your opening statement, but I know that I was going to ask you, how's your campaign going? I have things looking up for you and your opinion supporters.
It's going very well. Extremely well. You can see it on the street, you can see it everywhere, you can feel it anywhere. No other candidates or people who can walk the streets and people will be as excited as they are with us. Everybody wants this new Nigeria.
Interesting. Before we get started, I also like to ask Mr. because I know you did a press conference where you were talking about fake news, some people who had fake Twitter accounts in your name and all of that, but it does look like that scenario changed a bit. But how's that for you?
It hasn't changed.
Really?
Yeah, it's on the increase actually. But I've been able to succeed from the last press conference that I held. It has made a huge impact on 2023 elections. It was actually intended to call a particular gentleman to order. And I don't need to repeat all his utterances. And they were taking us on a very dangerous direction. It was uncivilized, undemocratic, and unpolitical, the way they were attacking our personalities. It was no longer making sense. The kind of politics they wanted to practice. A businessman like Peter Obi, who was very, very excited at the oil opportunity in northern Nigeria, and all they could do was to say that he was against it. This cannot continue. When I joined the ticket, I impeached certain lies against him, and I saw that they were heading towards that. And particularly my good friend on the APC side, on the same level, he was really, when people think they have money, they have power, and the sitting authority is theirs, there is no limit. Someone has to tap them on the shoulder. I did it and I pointed a finger. You do it again, do one, I'll do three. I'm capable of doing it. And they've stopped. However, me and my family have been paying a huge price for, my attempts to save Nigeria, to rescue Nigeria. They sent all sorts of people after me. I would have been a lot happier if only they stopped at me as an individual. But, the thing that I was able to sort with the presidential and vice presidential candidate, I ended up suffering from a much lesser level. 35 years ago at least, our dad, blessed memory, passed away. No one ever insulted him until I joined elections for presidency. This is not fair. No one ever insulted. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. You don't insult people's parents or their families. It doesn't happen. It's a huge price for anyone to pay. Anybody?
Sorry about that. I know it's a bit emotional. Sorry about that. Let's get to the very first segment of the conversation. And it's about security. One of Nigeria's foremost security consultants is the first that will shoot through for us tonight. His question, I'd like to I bring to the microphone Mr. Kabiru Adamu.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, these questions are derived from your immensely articulate Obi/Ahmed Baba pact with Nigeria, creating a new Nigeria. It is possible. I went through that document, and I must commend you for the work you put in making that document available. I have 3 questions. The first one, you were silent on the correlation between climate change and insecurity. Kindly comment on this, given that climate change and the inability of governments to implement adaptive measures is likely to continue to drive insecurity in Nigeria, the Sahel, as well as globally, and this will, of course, impact Nigeria. Question number 2.
I think they should take that first, then we can come to that second one.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to take that question?
Well, on the issue of climate change, I've said strictly that we'll follow the protocols, and where we think it is difficult for us to follow, we will discuss it. But there's already set protocols. It's not something you adopt what you want or what you don't want. There's a set protocols that have been agreed globally, and I will follow it religiously. And then when there's issues, we'll discuss it. And that's where I stop in climate change. I don't want to go beyond that.
Thank you, Excellency. Question number 2. You imply that good governance will address insurgency and secessionist agitations in the country in the long term. But what is your stand on these issues? And what would you do in the short term to contain them?
Well, like I said, in the short term, the issue of insurgency and whether it's agitations and everything, is to sit down and discuss with them. When a democratic dispensation, you govern by discussing, you govern by consensus, so I will sit down and discuss with every agitator, without exception of them. We must use carrot and stick. I will discuss with those who want to take. I'm convinced that when they have reasons, you have to look at what is causing agitation today. It's issues of injustice, issues that to do with that, whether it's the void of fairness, issues to do with unemployment, poverty, everything. When you start addressing these issues and you engage them in a discussion, you start bringing them to the table. No agitator globally who has seen reason, a convincing argument that things are going the way it should be, will continue to agitate. Because they're agitating for something. We all have agitators around us. My children, everybody agitates. But we sit down and discuss it. And when they see reason, they agree with me. But to think that you can continue with this injustice, continue with this unfairness, continue with this level of poverty, unemployment, and young people not knowing where the next meal will come from, you're going to have a crisis in your heart.
What about those cases that are in court based on failure of conversations?
Like that's what I'm saying.
Should you be president?
Everybody, I'll discuss with everybody, even if you're in prison.
What I'm making is that
even if you have been in jail, I'll bring you out and we'll discuss. Because there are things you don't end up unless after discussion, as I said, carrot and stick, we must exhaust the reason before we apply stick. It is important. This is a democratic dispensation. You don't get up and just give orders. I won't do that. I will govern by the rule of law. I will govern by, say it again, sitting down and discussing with everybody.
That includes the Jamaat al-Jihad in the northeast and the indigenous people of Biafra.
I have to find out who they are. Once you tell me it is, if it's you, I'll come to you. I have the exhaustive reason. Once you can identify who you are, I'll discuss with you. No matter what you're doing, no matter the type of gun you're carrying, I'll discuss with you. It is after discussing with you that I'll now say there's one government. Because I've been charged. But we must discuss with you first.
Thank you, Excellency. Number 3, what is your view on security sector governance, and how will you handle this if you emerge as president, but you are not in control of the parliament?
Well, I think the parliament is they too are secured. Nobody is safe. Not as if they live in a different country. So I don't think there will be a problem. They are kidnapping senators, they are kidnapping legislators, they are kidnapping president, and everybody is just meant to kidnap the president now. Everybody is at risk. Governors are running for cover. So we will not sit down because we're now anarchy consumes everybody. If they throw a bomb here, it will not spare any of us. Nobody knows who it might take me and share before the people who came to watch us. So it's important that we start. So when it's a problem, it's a problem for everybody. I'm going to sit down and they will see reason in what I'm doing. It is not going to be a government where even the citizens, I'm going to bring both state actors and non-state actors alike together and make everybody see reason why we should save the country and build a better country for all of us, our children and grandchildren.
Thank you. The question on security sector governance, what's your view on that?
Well, let me hear your clarification a bit more of what you, because you said you read my documents.
Yeah, but you were silent on security sector governance. In other words, there are, I think, about 27 security departments in the country. Part of the challenge at the moment is that they're not working together.
Bringing them together.
And
coordination is there.
Ensuring accountability.
I said we'll bring them together, make them work as one, ensuring accountability, ensuring effective service, and making sure they are responsive, and making sure that there's a clear authority. And if there's any failure, deal with it decisively.
Thank you, Excellent.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adamo. There is another security expert who is going to be asking question. He's abroad. He's Indu Umokolo of next year. Mr. Undu, your question.
My name is Dr. Undu Umokolo. I'm a partner with Next Year. Next Year is an international multi-competency development firm based here in Nigeria with offices across the world. So these are my questions, and I wish that you help Nigerians to understand how you're going to solve our security and safety challenges if you become Nigerian president. First, defense and security sector got the biggest budgetary allocation in 2023 financial budget, which is 13.4% of the total budget, or 2.98 trillion naira. While we acknowledge the rising insecurity and the need to improve safety and security of citizens, there have been established relationships between militaries and defense procurement, as well as corruption in Nigeria. And while the military is underperforming, we have been pointing fingers at how procurement issues have been carried out in the time past. If you become Nigerian president come May 2023, how will you handle the close nature of procurement in the military and defense sector? B, what significant steps will you be taking for Nigeria to reduce our spending on arms? Second question. According to Next Year Violent Database, between January and December 2022, about 3,032 Nigerians, or people who live in Nigeria, were victims of kidnapping. Considering the effort your government made at fighting such issues in Anambra State when you were governor, what will be your practical steps as a government in the war against kidnapping in Nigeria? This is because, judging from the way kidnapping is done in Nigeria, each region has a uniqueness of its kidnapping challenge, and this needs to be solved. Policing, second-tier policing, which will be different from the federal government policing.
Well, let me start with with the first thing instead about procurement, if I understand the question clearly. Every procurement, be it in the military or in any other sector, will be transparent. We can no longer allow the military or anybody to operate in a different world because we don't have resources. So we're not going to have resources that people can use to do procurement at their own terms. All procurement must be transparent, and more Nigerians must be transparent, visible, measurable, and we must get value for that procurement. We must be sure that this thing will be the value added to it. And I assure you that nothing will be under the table, it will be open. On issue of what we are going to do to stop kidnapping and everything, is that we need to go out to the root of it. We need to involve communities in securing our country. We need to involve communities in securing our country. I give an example, and I'm sure somebody who is here knew a little bit of what I did in Anambra State. We said, listen, this thing starts from the security, for the communities. I invited every single community. We have about 180 communities in Anambra State. Said each of you must set up a security outfit paid directly by government from our office. I paid them, each paid directly by government, but all of them a pickup, security pickup, other equipment that was necessary. Told the traditional ruler and this thing that I hold you responsible if anything goes wrong in your community. If anything goes wrong in this community, we hold you responsible. And we have 180 communities where we have a telephone line connected and everything. If you do anything in one community, within 5 minutes, everybody has received the message and everything. If you have, and then moved on from community, went to local government, the states, occupants, approved federal agencies, and it became clear within a period of less than 1 year. The difference was clear. We can do the same thing nationally. There's no reason why we should not have local government policing, state policing, and of course, national policing.
That has to be enshrined in the law. The Constitution does not recognize that. How would you achieve that?
I just told you what I did without the Constitution. We have to start somewhere before we amend the Constitution, because we can't wait for the Constitution or the law of us that kidnapped. We can do this, forget about what we... I'm not saying who come into the Constitution. If I go and do vigilante in the village, you could not need the Constitution to start, because people have to secure the people that make the Constitution. Otherwise, they won't even be allowed to change the Constitution. We have to be alive for the Constitution to be changed. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Using my position as the president today, I'll sign. If there's some power for the president, it's not everything that you have to wait. I have to secure the people first, then we amend the Constitution to suit it.
Would you be considering the 2014 confab and tinkering with it?
Well, that one will come. First is that I must secure the people. Everybody will be alive, including the president. Then we talk about now what we are going to implement. I'm not going to wait for anything. Nigeria must be secured, and it must be secured as quickly as possible, whatever it takes.
Yeah, Dr. Ahmed wants to say.
In 2018, I submitted that misprocurement or inefficient procurement is responsible for an estimated 65% of the quantum of corruption in Nigeria. This question from the gentleman simply confirms my submission. His Excellency Governor Peter Obi has given a very powerful argument that the moment you have a leader who is not stealing and the people can see he and his people are not stealing, nobody will be mad enough to steal. So you need somebody who is content. That is already an action taken. content by his lifestyle, content by his achievements, that the only thing he wants to achieve now is to secure Nigeria. And no contract is going to be inflated. Be it security, be it defense, be it policing, whatsoever. Successive Nigerians under-procured the development of Nigeria. That is why we are so weak. Our security is so poor. If we spend 10 trillion on security, we need to extract 10 or even 11 trillion naira worth of security service, security goods, security gadgets in everything we do. Apply that to the world of education. Why is it that a gentleman will get a fresh university started at 1.75 billion in 2011, while another government is starting with 10 billion naira in a secondary school? The moment you have leaders that really mean business, immediately everything will be procured with the deserved efficiency. Because security you talk about is a product service, product-service. You are buying it. So you buy the right thing, the right price. And what we're saying is that we have the records, we have the capacity and attitudes to buy everything for Nigeria. The best thing any leader can give Nigeria today is to remove his personal, group and political interests. We're ready to do that. If you remove that, all of Nigerian procurement is going to deliver the service you require. And remember, out of over 1,000 members that have been to the National Assembly, I challenge everybody with modesty. Go and verify. I am the only sponsor of the prohibition of inflated government's contract bill 2004. Colleagues are here to verify. I was behind when I was managing director of base research. I was behind what they now call due process. It was called clean contract certification, proposed to the then brand new federal government in 1999. And then it was watered down, it became due process, which became another layer. Every ministry have their own and they just added costs. We are going to either one of two. We lower the amount we're spending on everything for that particular quality and quantity. Be it roads. If we're spending 10 billion naira on 100 kilometers of road and it is 90% inflated, so you either give us 9 times that length of road at the same quality, or you give us back our 90%.
All right. A lot of Nigerians are already.
And then we will pay Nigerians more. We will spend more on education and healthcare and on uniting Nigeria. This is no-brainer. It's not rocket science. I've been saying it for 4 years.
All right. There are a few questions that Nigerians are already asking. I'd like you to. We'll go on a short break, but when we come back, I'd like you to respond to those questions. I will move into economy. Sarah Yamoko Felix on Facebook is asking a question. I'd like you to just take a look. But when we come back from the break, you'll be able to respond to these questions. There are several other questions also on Twitter and several other platforms where people are watching and participating. Hashtag the People's Town Hall. Everyone stay with us. The People's Town Hall continue with Peter Obi and Datti Ahmed. When we return, we'll be responding or getting the response of both men on these questions on social media, on security, and then we go to economy. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.